What would you like to see change in your life? And what is the biggest obstacle that you're facing now? I run 2 programs called Inner Knowing and Good Life Designed for serious individuals who are ready to take the next step in their personal and professional lives. I will personally be coaching a small group of individuals on tools and frameworks for creating an intuitive practice and for creating self-mastery in their life. As someone who's helped countless entrepreneurs open doors of possibility that they never thought existed, I've seen these strategies transform people's lives. The best part is that you'll 10x your output, unlock your creative genius. I'll work with you weekly to overcome your limiting beliefs. I'll teach you how to create clarity, processes, develop your intuition, and set a new framework on how to live your best life. And you'll get access to guided meditations that I have personally created that are not available anywhere else. We'll create a new self-concept that you can practice moving forward. This method is so effective that even if you don't have a lot of time or if you think you're not ready for a change, these frameworks and methodologies will still work for you. You can check out the link in the show notes to join the waiting list, and you can also check out what some of the previous clients had to say about our time together. It's first come, first serve, and I hope to see you there. Hi, my name is Yasmin Tarehi, and this is Gateways to Awakening, where we host one-on-one conversations with leading experts in wellness, well-being, and spirituality. On today's episode, I speak with Dhanjoo Gista, a world authority in biomedical engineering and physics, author and editor of several textbooks in the subjects ranging from cardiovascular physics to democratic governance, and the inventor of medical, diagnostic, and surgical procedures. A pioneer of research in aerospace medicine on the effect of microgravity environment on human physiology, he has now been promoting a new STEM format of medicine for medical schools to promote precision medicine and patient-specific surgery, and the role of universities in contributing to building smart cities and sustainable communities. I'm so excited to welcome Dhanjoo to the show. So welcome, Dhanjoo.
It's a pleasure, Yasmin. It's a pleasure to be interviewed by you.
Oh, thank you. So, Dhanjoo, to kick it off, would you say that today people are meditating correctly or not?
Well, meditation is the most important aspect of yoga. And yoga means union with the cosmic mind, or union with the divine entity, or union with God. Hence, I would say that the meditation process involves how we can ideate on and connect with the divine entity, by which we can develop psychosomatic health and well-being and have liberation of the mind from its embedded impressions and become enlightened. This is my definition of meditation. Now, in common practice, meditation involves focusing one's mind on the present moment and not be engaged with thinking. And the most popular meditation practice is mindfulness meditation. And mindfulness meditation involves bringing one's attention to the present moment and being mindful of the surroundings around you. Now, our meditation system's purpose is much higher, because as I just mentioned to you, if we want to obtain liberation of our mind from its embedded impressions caused by reactions to our actions, and provide preventive care as well as psychosomatic care. So this is our purpose of meditation. Our purpose of meditation is to be mindful of the divine entity around us, not just to be mindful of the surroundings.
And can we actually double click on that point, Dhanjoo, and speak a little bit about what that means from your point of view? So connecting with the divine entity, can you walk us through an example?
Well, you can say that, okay, so the divine entity, or you may say God or cosmic mind, is all pervading. It's all around us, in our homes, outside, it's all around us. And the main and the starting point of meditation is to be mindful of the presence of divine entity around you. So when you're mindful of the present entity around you, the divine entity is also waiting for you to connect with it. So let's say that now we are mindful of the divine presence around us. then we can start connecting with the divine entity, ideating on the divine entity. And when we ideate on the divine entity, many of our impressions in our mind, in our subconscious mind, get wiped out, and we become elevated, we become enlightened. This is how, and we will describe this process in detail as we go on.
So it seems like we're just connecting to the kind of field of union or unity around us in some ways.
That's the definition of meditation. Meditation is union with cosmic consciousness, or you may say cosmic mind, and let's call it divine entity, make it more available for people to to refer to.
Got it. Okay. All right. So that's very different than I think what most people are used to, which is about kind of connecting to oneself rather than connecting to all that is, like the surrounding.
Yeah, because really connecting to oneself is vague, because that's not the purpose of our meditation. Purpose of our meditation is to be absolved from our embedded impressions and to become enlightened, to become divine. Let's put it that way. When we connect with the divine entity, we want to also become divine. That's the purpose of meditation.
Amazing. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the chakras, because I think they're important to understanding the rest of this conversation. Can you briefly describe, what are the chakras, what do they mean, and why are they important?
So in our meditation system, chakras are very important. Chakras are energy centers of the body located in the spirit body or astral body along the spine, starting at the base. The mind and the body are linked by these subtle energy centers or chakras. Chakras are also associated with and control endocrine glands. So, in that way, the chakras regulate the organ functions through these glands by stimulating their hormonal secretions. This is how the chakras influence the body. So, this is what you may say the chakras are. And maybe if we had time, we could have. I think it's important to have pictures of it. But anyway, so in meditation, what we do is that we energize the chakras by divine consciousness. Okay, using an appropriate mantra that synchronizes with breathing. So, this in turn energizes the associated endocrine glands to secrete hormones into the organs, and in this way, the organs also get affected and cured of ailments. For instance, energizing the Anahat chakra can help to promote healthy functioning of the heart. Energizing the Manipur chakra can help even to control diabetes or to even cure from diabetes. So this is the whole purpose of chakras.
So can you talk to us about, for people listening, we've got 70 plus countries and various kind of understandings of what these terms mean. Can you tell us what a mantra is for folks listening, and also what the mantra that you use or that you instruct people to use when they meditate?
Okay, so now so in order to get to the mantra, we have to go through the process of meditation. So the first step in meditation is to recognize presence of divine entity around us, and to not be conscious of the surroundings, to remove our mind from the surroundings and only be conscious of the divine presence around us. The second step is to also remove our mind from the feeling of the body. So the second step is to you may say have a spirit body, and to go from all the way from the bottom chakra to the top chakra. And when we get to the Ajnana chakra, then we have reached the top chakra, and at that point we then concentrate on our Ishta chakra. Ishta chakra is where our mind lies. So when we concentrate on our Ishta chakra, we are only aware of our Ishta chakra and the divine presence. At that point, our meditation starts. So at that point, we now use our mantra to connect to the divine entity. The mantra is a 2-syllable mantra. For instance, it can be Baba, which is a 2-syllable mantra. First syllable as we breathe in, second syllable as we breathe out. So the meaning of this mantra is, I want to become divine. Please guide me to become divine. You may say, this is in brief the meaning of mantra, or I am yours and you are mine. So this is how we meditate.
And how long does your meditation usually take? Is there a specific amount of time or?
Generally, people should meditate twice a day, say in the morning, before they start, say at sunrise, because you want to start the day feeling pleasant. And after sunset, there are all these embedded impressions in the mind based on your interactions. So then again, we should meditate to delete these impressions and become, in that process, over a period of time, one can become liberated, one can become self realized, one can become enlightened. This is how it should be. I meditate 2 hours a day, but in general, people should meditate half an hour in the morning before work or before at sunrise, and half an hour after sunset.
Amazing. And you spoke about releasing impressions from the day. How are the meditations different? Because I imagine that the second part about releasing impressions maybe has a little bit of a different context to it.
Well, when we interact with people, just like action and reaction in Newton's law, action and reaction are equal and opposite. So when we interact with people, the reactions of our interactions is what is what our mind is impressed with. So these are embedded impressions in our mind of reactions of our interactions, in this life and even in the previous life. And that is why people get reincarnated. So by doing meditation, we want to remove these embedded impressions and become free and become liberated. And that is the purpose of meditation. Of course, the purpose of the second part of meditation is also to energize the chakras and be cured of diseases. So we have two purposes of meditation. One, to be liberated. Second, to promote psychosomatic health and well-being and to cure from diseases. So the general meditation that we talked about, mindfulness and all, cannot do either of these things. So this is I call it higher consciousness meditation.
And Dhanjoo, what about, so people oftentimes have kind of different polarities when it comes to their states. Some are very grounded, but sort of not open to connection with the divine. And then others feel like, so disassociated and like 10 feet away from their body. And yeah, I'm just curious, like, does it matter, what people's existing states are when they go into meditation, or is this kind of a universal?
No.
Okay.
Meditation is above all this. I've been teaching meditation in the community to a wide range of people with different backgrounds. Meditation essentially is a spiritual. Okay, let's put it this way. Meditation is a spiritual process. Spiritual process is about religious. So meditation is about all kinds of narrow sentiments, whether it is geo sentiment or religious sentiment or national sentiment. Meditation is going on the journey, on the spiritual journey to get liberation. This is what. So we have had so far, okay, let's put it this way. We have had intellectual revolution. Intellectual revolution has led to industrial revolution. But industrial revolution involves many things. It involves maybe using industry in a proper way or using industry in the wrong way. This is why we have wars and all of that. So meditation is spiritual progress. So meditation is rising above all this. So if we now can guide our mind properly through meditation, then our intellectual development can be also used for the right purpose. This is important. This is very important. And the reason why people are misusing the intelligence or misusing the intellect is because of not having spiritual development through meditation.
Yeah, that's such an important point. I really appreciate that last part as well. Just I think people are using their minds sort of kind of unconsciously, right? And
Yeah, now you see what's happening all around us today. Wars have been going on throughout human history. We have not been able to, to you may say, go be above it. And so we really need meditation. When we have meditation, and when, say, everybody does, or say a big percentage of people do meditation, then the leaders will also be more evolved, and the leaders will also not be involved in petty things, as they have been doing.
hmm,
The main purpose, we'll get to that also. The whole purpose of leadership, whether it is in the Congress or whether it is in state governance, is to provide benefiting public policies for the people. You can only do that when you are doing meditation, when you are spiritually developed. When you are spiritually developed, you recognize that this is your role and you know what to do.
right. And that's definitely not taking place today, not even
Yes.
close. So, Dhanjoo, I want to talk a little bit about Yogapathy and its part in the cosmological cycle. Can you talk to us about what that is and what the 5 fundamental factors are?
Yeah. So the cosmological cycle. Okay. Let me just first define what is the cosmological cycle. We are going from cosmic consciousness to cosmic mind. From cosmic mind, we go to universe development. You may say Big Bang. From there, we have further, you may say, development, whereby we are now developing, you may say, fundamental mind, or this. And then from once the primitive mind is developed, then the primitive mind develops into plants, animals, human beings, and then you merge into consciousness. So, what are we talking about? From cosmic consciousness to cosmic mind to universe, to physical universe, from physical universe to primitive mind development through microvita, from primitive mind development to further evolving evolution to plants, animals, and human beings. So then, when we reach the human being stage, this is where Yogapathy will enable human beings to further evolve and merge into cosmic consciousness. So this is the purpose of Yogapathy, but at least people should understand how Yogapathy evolves. Because otherwise, if you don't understand that this is how cosmic consciousness comes and how Big Bang occurs, and then how primitive mind occurs, then people will not understand where we are going. What is the purpose of what is the purpose of Yogapathy? I think maybe a figure for that may be helpful, but we are talking, so it's difficult. But a lot of these
Yeah.
things I think can be better explained with figures.
Right, right. And people can find that on your website, which we'll include
Yes,
in the show
people
notes.
can find that on website, or I can even provide you, maybe after we finish talking, I can even provide you a write-up so that maybe people can look at the write-up and see some figures there.
Sure.
I can draw the figures for you.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's better.
Okay.
Yeah, because website may not contain all this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can definitely do that. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Dhanjoo, I want to talk a little bit about the 5 fundamental factors. Can you talk to us about what they are in relationship to the cosmological cycle?
So you see, these 5 fundamental factors are related, ethereal, aerial, luminous, liquid, and solid. These are the 5 fundamental factors. These are also related to our senses. So with these five fundamental factors, the cosmic mind, you may say, devolves into the physical universe. Then the cosmic mind, from the cosmic mind microvita, which is, you may say, life seeds of life. Cosmic mind also secretes microvita. The microvita will convert the physical universe into, you may say, mind, primitive mind. So we are going from physical universe to mind development, from mind development again, because of continuing presence of cosmic consciousness around us, there is evolution taking place. In animals, for instance, it is automatic evolution taking place. They don't have to do. But human beings have the choice whether to go centrifugally, to lead a materialistic life, or to go centripetally, that means towards cosmic consciousness, and get liberated. So this is the whole idea of yogapathy. Human beings have a choice. If you are just involved in your daily work and and earning money and all that, yeah, you can continue to do that, but that will not bring you liberation for what you are come here for. But now, if people also do meditation, then they will recognize the purpose of their living. The
Mm.
purpose, there are twofold purposes of one's living. One is to do meditation and evolve. Second purpose is to help, is to do community service or to do service to humanity. Both are interwoven, both help one another. You cannot just do meditation and not do community service. So, community service will help meditation, meditation will help community service, because you should know what is the right way to do community service. And so, with meditation, you develop spiritually, and then you know what is community service. And if we do it that way, then we have a different, you may call it, we'll have a different world. We'll have a more evolved world. We'll have a more evolved civilization. The whole purpose of meditation is to develop a more evolved civilization. Because so far, human beings have evolved intellectually. Okay, they learned how to write, they learned alphabet, they learned languages. But now the next step is to evolve spiritually. And when you evolve spiritually, you're enabling your intellect to move in the right direction. And this is the main purpose of meditation. You want to bring your intellect in the right direction, so that to provide progressive living for the people. This is the purpose of meditation. And this is also the purpose of, you may say, the whole problem that we have, why people are poor, why people are marginalized, why people are oppressed, why people are suppressed. Majority of the people in this universe are poor. Why? Because they have because of poor leadership. Leadership has to take care of lifting them up. What is the definition of society according to me? Society means, suppose you have a group of people, and people should move from the first expression of, you may say, moralism, to attaining cosmic status. So society means a group of people who are going from the first expression of, you may say, humanism or moralism, to have cosmic status. Now, in this process, some people are moving forward, some people are not able to move forward. Our purpose of the definition of society is that we should not let anybody lag behind. We should take them with us. And this is what my definition of society is. Society
Mm.
means moving together from the first expression of moralism or humanism to attaining cosmic statehood. And so based on this definition of society, this is what we have to, this is the kind of society that we should develop.
Yeah, it's interesting because I vaguely remember hearing something similar from Matthias de Stefano, how, a lot of our society has been based on this concept of morality, really. And that is, it's difficult because in one location, morality is very different than
That's
another
right.
location geographically. And so, the idea of moving into a cosmic state, or, or what you call really this consciousness, like consciousness should be the thing that is uniting us, not morality, which has been like kind of the larger story in the narrative of humanity.
Right.
So
We
what you
start
talk
with
about,
morality and then you reach cosmic desideratum.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so there's so many questions I have moving forward, but I want to understand because we can get to the social component of meditation and cosmic consciousness. I want to go a little bit more into what happens on a physical level, what happens to our brainwaves when we meditate, and why understanding our brainwave states actually matter when we are exploring meditative states.
So you see, we can keep talking about meditation, but we should have a way by which we justify, you may say the benefit of meditation. So EEG is one way, then you may say ECG is another way, but let's talk about EEG. When you do EEG, when you are meditating and say EEG is done, the brain waves are composed of four categories. Generally, people who don't do meditation have beta waves, which is from 12 to maybe 38 hertz or so. And they are predominant among people when they are engaged in tasks and all of that. Generally, beta waves are associated with normal behavior and also stress. We go further, alpha brain waves from 8 to 12 hertz are dominant when the mind is quiet and sometimes also during meditation. And then you go further down, theta brainwaves, 3 to 8 hertz, occurs mostly in deep meditation. So this is what, so when you, let's say that based on my, you know, um, also studies, we have studied brainwaves of people who do meditation and people who don't do meditation. For people who don't do meditation, during meditation, the beta waves keep, it just stays that way. But when you monitor EEG of people who do meditation, the beta waves become more alpha waves, and alpha waves can even more become theta waves. So this is how we manifest the benefit of meditation. Okay, so that is what I'm talking about. So EEG is a way by which otherwise we can keep talking about meditation, but we have to also show the benefit of meditation through this EEG analysis.
Mm. So, Dhanjoo, can you talk to us about the step-by-step process when it comes to meditation? You walk us through an example so that people can start practicing today.
Okay, so the goal of this meditation, I would say, comprises of three parts or three lessons, three separate lessons. One is, you may call it, offering oneself to God or divine entity. Second is pranayam, which people can understand. It is the science of breathing. And third is purifying the chakras. Let's talk about the first step, namely offering oneself to God, which is called Ishvara Pranidhan. This is you may say, Sanskrit term for it. So the goal of this lesson is to obtain liberation from samskaras, or embedded psychic impression in the subconscious mind. So for that, the aspirant, that is the meditator, is taught how to ideate on and feel one with God or divine entity. And this is done by concentrating on this I feeling, and we'll get to it. That means the Ishta chakra. And then using Ishta chakra to ideate on the divine entity. So let's start with the first step. Step one means you recognize the presence of divine entities. So when I have been teaching meditation in the community, I also do that. In fact, one lady has actually taken pictures of people when we start doing meditation, and she showed mellow light in the room. And that is what the presence of divine entity is. So otherwise we can talk abstractly. So step one is recognizing and manifesting the presence of divine entity around us in the form of mellow light. And this cannot be recognized by people, but only, I'm just saying that this, because she did pictures of the room, she was able to show mellow light. So in this step one, the meditator is only feeling divine presence and is not aware of surrounding people or surroundings. The process of mind withdrawal from the surroundings is the first step. The second step is to also withdraw your mind from the body. So in this way, by a special method, the meditator is brought. The mind is, you're going from one chakra to another, and finally you've reached your mind center. You reach the Ajna chakra, which is in the middle of the forehead. Then you reach your mind center. And this mind center, once you reach your mind center, then you are only aware of divine presence around you. This is where meditation starts. And this is where you start saying your mantra. So when you reach that mindset, everybody has a mind center. And one has to reach the mind center. In order to reach the mind center, one has to withdraw your mind from the surroundings, from the human body, and reach your mind center. Once you reach mind center, you're not aware of the body, you're only aware of the divine presence around the mind. Then you use your 2-syllable mantra. The general meaning of all mantras is, you're my guide, and with your guide I can become divine. So even though the mantra is a 2-syllable mantra, you're appealing to the divine entity. Make me divine. So when you are appealing to the divine entity, divine energy flows into the mind and floods it with blissful feeling. So when you're taking in breath, the divine entity is infusing divinity into the mind. And then out breath, the mind is expanded and gets literally lit up and become divine. So this is the process of meditation. First, in breath, with the first syllable of the mantra, divine entity is putting divine light or divine energy into the mind. And then the mind becomes expanded and the mind becomes divine. When the mind becomes divine, it gets cleared from its embedded impressions, formed by one's actions. So this is what the process of meditation is.
How can we ensure that we don't create karma and judgment when interacting with others?
So karma is the result of our actions and the reactions of our actions. Now, our mind has always something to ideate on. It has to have objectivity. In daily life, the objectification of the mind resulting from our interactions and then the reactions of the interactions produces karma. And it is essentially the cause of human suffering. You may call it, or whatever it is, stress or whatever. So karma produces both mental and physical pain. Now, people are all the time, involving karma. It may or may not be realized in one's life. And this is what results in reincarnation. And the purpose of reincarnation is to learn how to live better and exhaust your karma. So this is the purpose of reincarnation. I can tell you stories of reincarnation, but we won't have time. So meditation is the pathway to learning and to exhaust one's karma. And for that purpose, the guidance of Sadguru is also very important, because with our meditation, we can maybe delete, say, 10 or 15% of our karma. But the Sadguru takes on the other 20% and enables one to exhaust the karma. So the dual role of spiritual aspirant is self-realization and service to humanity, both these roles, and the Sadguru relieves the disciple of karma. This is why it's very important on this path. Just like, so when you go to school, you have school teachers. When you go to university, you have professors. On this path, the role of Sadguru is very important. Sadguru is somebody who has reached that final stage that we talked about, but instead of merging with cosmic consciousness, Sadguru continues to be on earth and help people. So for us also, if human beings are continually doing meditation and say you want to, and you are at the stage when you want to merge with cosmic consciousness, but you say, no, I want to come back and help human beings, then you are coming back as Sadguru. Sadguru is somebody who is self-realized, but who has come back to help people to evolve. So this is what I'm talking about. So this is
that
how.
which are you a Satguru, Dhanjoo?
Well, I am a meditation guide. I've benefited a lot from my Sadguru. So I'm teach meditation, and it's called, okay, so I'm a meditation guide. I teach meditation.
I ask because I'm just curious, how many
Yeah.
people are Sadgurus on the planet.
Sadguru,
And
it's very rare. People can call themselves guru, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay, so Sadguru is somebody who is, you may say, who is part of cosmic consciousness.
who have you ever encountered one, or
Yes,
can
I've
you?
had Sadguru. And this is how, because of that, I practiced meditation, but then I learned how to teach meditation. Learning how to teach meditation is also a big process. Not everybody can teach meditation. The learning how to teach meditation is also a big process.
So, okay, there's so
Yeah.
many ways we can kind of move this
It's called
conversation forward.
acharya. A person who teaches meditation is called acharya. That means
Acharya?
somebody, Acharya.
Okay.
Acharya.
Acharya.
Somebody, who lives by teaching, whose conduct is manifested through his life, through his, this is what an acharya is. But the acharya is somebody who teaches meditation. Because in this day and age, it's not possible for the Sadguru to teach everybody. So acharyas are trained by the Sadguru to teach people meditation all over. This is what it is. So I am an acharya.
Acharya. I love that. Okay. It's the first time I've heard that term, so I appreciate these definitions. So, Dhanjoo, I want to talk about what happens when we die. What is you spoke about reincarnation earlier. I'd love to hear from you, like what you think happens when we pass.
Die. Okay. This is a very difficult question. See, there are astral worlds we can go to, and from where the physical world comes. So when we die, we go to the non-physical astral worlds. Now, we are then guided to take birth in a specific environment wherein we can have the capability to learn to live better than we did earlier and to delete our samskaras and to evolve. Now, this is something that has not been developed enough to know. For instance, if you read some of the stories of people, who had, say, who were in the stage of dying, but then they were able to revive, and cardiologists have read the story, and then they go through a tunnel, and then they manifest, oh, I'm in a different world. So I feel that, say, around our world there is an astral world. So when we die, we go to the astral world for those who have to come back. In the astral world, you also learn a lot. And from the astral world, you come back to this physical world. Now, people who don't have to come back, who have already exhausted their karma, can go to higher lokas, can go to higher worlds. So this is my impression of what happens when we die. Because outer body experience of people has been recorded. You can just look up the net. Outer body experience has been recorded by cardiologists and people who are on the hospital bed, during or during surgery. They experience this outer body experience, and when they had this outer body experience, they felt they were going through a tunnel, and then all of a sudden they came to a luminous world, and they were able to even recognize some people there. So this is my explanation of what happens when we die. So, surrounding our physical world, I feel, is an astral world, because, as we mentioned also, that astral world keeps converting into physical world. So, this is one way, but people who don't have to come back go to even higher worlds, so that from there they go to still higher worlds. So this is what happens when we die. So, because people don't understand what it is, what happens when one die, therefore people have this, because it's not explained, and even so people call it heaven, hell, and all of these things. These are, theoretical terms, abstract terms, but this is not the way, one should think. But it gives people some satisfaction to think like that.
Yeah, I think so much is complex and just overly complicated for the human mind to grasp,
That's
when
right.
it
We have
comes to
not
these.
got to the stage of recognizing where we came from and where we are going to. And this is the problem. If people knew where they came from and where, say, maybe others went to, then people would behave in a different way. We would have a more evolved world. We would have a more progressive world. There's this story of a girl born in Burma, and she, I can even send you the story because it has been recorded. So she didn't want she was upset, for instance, when her parents took her to a particular place. Well, what happened was that in a previous life she was a Japanese soldier, and when coming into Burma, and she was shot, and then she's born again in that place where she was shot. She's born as a lady, but she feels that she's a male person. And so this is what an example of you may say reincarnation is. Reincarnation means, you are sometimes born in a place where you have not been treated properly, where you have not treated people properly, to then recognize how you should go forward.
Mm. Oh, yeah, fascinating. Yeah.
I think the main, if people, generally people when they are first born can recall their previous lives, but this is not recorded. And afterwards, because of surroundings and everything, then they forget about their previous lives. I think reincarnation recording or reincarnation knowing is very important, because then people will know how to be, how to act. And so this is why I said people should do meditation and people should also serve humanity. Two things are interwoven, and serving humanity means knowing how to be spiritual. Then only you can serve humanity better, and knowing
Mm.
where you came from and where you can go to depending on how you are in this life. That is very important. That will change the whole behavior of people. It will change this world. So this is what I call spirit. We are now in the stage of starting spiritual revolution.
Yes,
We have been
yes.
talking about intellectual revolution, and industrial revolution. That doesn't mean much, because you want to guide your intellect in the right direction.
Right, right. Wow. So, we could spend a lot of time just talking about reincarnation. And when I was younger, I actually had a lot of dreams and a lot of imagination. And I remember this moment where I actually sat in the middle of the woods and just prayed to the universe,
Beautiful,
like
beautiful.
take
See,
care of me and my
fantastic.
family, which is, yeah, which was really sweet, because I don't know what prompted me to do that, but I remember asking for that. And I do feel, yeah, that the invisible world has been guiding and taking care of me. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what about what happens? You spoke about, there's higher levels, and then there's the astral plane. But what happens when we don't become liberated? What happens if we're sort of checked out in this life and only focused on our own kind of material gains, or maybe the gains of just our family?
Right. You see, let me just mention something. I worked at NASA after I did my PhD at Stanford University. And, at NASA, people believe in UFOs, and aliens at NASA. It's not known outside. Anyway, I read a book written by a Russian, space scientist, and he was saying that in higher worlds, we don't have these things like socialism, communism, capitalism. These are primitive things. These are primitive thinking. Higher worlds, are devoid of all this, and they are also devoid of religions. So this is what when I first started working. This is what I read. Now you talk about what happens when you don't get liberated. When we don't get liberated, then we have to come back, and still, we have to practice. But most people don't do meditation, so really they continue to be born again and again. Now let me just say one thing: how do we have a better world, and we want to have a better world devoid of unnecessary wars and killings, and also devoid of oppressive political leadership, and also devoid of animal killings. It is primitive for us to live by enjoying animal food. Pythagoras said this more than 500 BC, and I'm quoting from him: "For as long as men massacre animals, they will kill each other. Indeed, he who sows the seed of murder and pain cannot reap joy and love." This is what Pythagoras said 500 BC. But when people are taught in school, everybody is taught Pythagoras' theorem, right angle triangle. 1 square is equal to, or c square is equal to a square plus b square. But people are not taught what Pythagoras said. When people are taught what Pythagoras said in schools, it will develop a new way of thinking, a new way of living. Because when we eat animal food, animals go through a lot before they are killed, and we are taking on their karma also when we eat animal food. So we have to be more evolved. It is primitive to have wars. It is also primitive to have animal killing and animal food. This is what spirituality is all about.
What about fish? Is it just all animals?
Well, one has to eat food that doesn't have higher consciousness. Food doesn't have as much. Food also, fish also, has consciousness. One has to eat vegetarian food, plants, made from plants and fruits and all of that. Because we don't want to take on. Imagine, look at what animals are closeted, and then they undergo a lot of suffering before they are killed, and as a result of that, their body is filled with a lot of bad, I don't know what to call it, bad hormones, and we are eating that without recognizing this. So let's be more evolved. Let's not think of eating animal food, even fish. Fish is not as bad as animal food, but still, let's think of eating vegetarian food. Think of what Pythagoras said, 500 BC.
Okay, I love that. I will definitely.
And this is what all school kids should be taught, because all this starts at the school level.
Right.
I feel that that meditation should also be taught in a primitive way or preliminary way at the school level, because then you go to college. By the way, I want to say one more thing. Yogapathy is just a new term. It's not taught in universities. So we should have, I'm talking to the listeners, that we should come together to have college of yogapathy in every college or every university. That's important, because as universities should not just provide knowledge of human thinking, but universities should provide knowledge of how to evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I want to switch gears a little bit, Dhanjoo, just because of time. I want to talk a little bit about whether we all have a mission and purpose in this life. And
Oh, that's very important. Mission and purpose of life is very important. And I think, let me put it this way: we are born to evolve, and we are born to also help people. So let me talk about mission and purpose of life and living. Our mission and purpose of life and living is to make a more evolved world. Let's put it that way. You know, human beings need to learn what is beyond this earth, also in higher loka. So when we do meditation, we are now opening ourselves to cosmic, to cosmic thinking. So our mission in life is to cultivate a more evolved world. And what is meant by more evolved world? Okay, we have many aspects to think about. More evolved world means people doing meditation, but also evolved world means public policies should also be people benefiting. Healthcare as a fundamental human right. We don't have healthcare in this country. Healthcare is privatized. So healthcare, should be a single payer healthcare system. Then we should have education available to all, just like healthcare is a fundamental right. Education is a fundamental right. But see, in this country, people cannot afford education. Schools are free, but colleges have high tuition fees. In Europe, you have free colleges, even for foreign students, free colleges. But here we don't have. Then, democracy reform. That's another thing that I've not mentioned. You see, the main problem with us here is the political party system. It is primitive. Again, I'm using the words of this Russian scientific physicist. It is primitive to have democracy in the form of political parties. Because as you have seen, throughout, not just in US, but elsewhere too, the whole purpose of political parties is to make sure that they get elected and the other party does not get elected. That's all. They don't care about people. They're only caring about defeating the other party. So we have Democratic Party and Republican Party. It is primitive to think along these lines. So what should be the way of what is genuine democracy? It is comprised of, you may say, three parts. Let's say that you want to elect somebody in the state legislature. We should elect people who are most competent in their respective fields. So in public, you may say in the state legislature, in public service, you may have, say, education, healthcare, industrial development, law. So we should elect the most competent people in these categories. Who are the most competent, people in education, school education, who are elected, who are elected in college education, who are elected in law and human rights, who are elected in this. This is the one part of you may say genuine democracy, devoid of political parties. The second aspect of you may say genuine democracy is that in all these corporations, we have people at the top and then we have employees. So what happens? The employees are not properly taken care of, and the people at the top have different salary status than the employees. Then the benefits of the corporation are not shared with the employees. So what I'm saying is that we should change from corporation to corporate, you may say, uh, corporatocracy. In other words, the institutions or the corporations should not be guided by stock market. That means they should not be controlled by people in stock market. They should be controlled by people in their own corporation. This is how we will have economic equity. Because most people are working in corporations. So if all the revenues or if all the profits or if all the benefits of corporations are shared within the employees, by the employees, we would have economic equity. So that's the second step. First step, as I said, delete political parties because it's primitive to think along political parties. In fact, when this democracy was started, we didn't have political parties. So delete political parties, elect the most competent people in various aspects of you may say, public sectors of the community to the legislature. Second, in corporations, please have all the benefits or the revenue or all the profits shared by the employees. Third aspect, we have United Nations. Now, I don't know if you read, the sustainable goals of United Nations. There are 17 sustainable goals, starting with removal of poverty. We cannot have these sustainable goals implemented in the present situation or in the present structure of United Nations. United Nations is controlled by 5 countries. And so there is no way by which United Nations can help poor countries in Africa or other places. So what we should do in the United Nations, we should you may say reform the United Nations and have a world government in United Nations. The world government will be represented by representatives from all these countries, from all these, you may say, European Union, African Union. Similarly, there is a Union of Asian countries, SAARC, and all these. So all these continents have unions. Representatives from these unions should be in the world government so that they can take care of, so in this way, the United Nations will not be controlled by 5 countries. The United Nations will be able to take care of their, to implement the sustainable goals. So this is what I'm talking about, democracy reform. Democracy reform is the most important aspect. So we have talked about healthcare as a fundamental right, tuition-free universities or affordable tuition for people. The concept of student debt is really primitive. And because people in the Congress and people in the White House are controlled by these corporations, they cannot even consider healthcare as a human right. They cannot consider education as a human right. They cannot remove student debts, which is also primitive. So we have to develop a higher level world.
Right.
Homes for all, jobs for all, and finding economic and wealth equity. This is what it is. This is what you may say is the future of humanity. If you want to talk about future of humanity, you can ask me that question.
Yeah, I mean, so I think all these points are so important, and I think just to the conversation around like the systems that are in place are fundamentally like inequitable and there's a disadvantage to a large portion of society when it comes to the way that we are working and and sort of the social construct of what people have access to from, right, like you said, healthcare and education. I want to, just for the sake of time, before we move, a little bit deeper into that topic, because I think it's important, but I also think it's such a big topic, Dhanjoo, that I want to also give our listeners some time to think about it, and also, I don't know what the solution is moving forward, because it feels like such a big problem to tackle. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I see.
So I would like, actually, Yasmin, I would like the listeners who are really interested to come together and we form you may say a society building association. Society building association will involve, making sure that we have these colleges of yogapathy in universities. We have then another college of, you may say, governance and public administration in universities. That also is very important because that is what decides how people are. And we should have a STEM format of medicine. Right now, medicine is taught, you may say, in a way, for instance, physiology is taught qualitatively. Physiology should be taught quantitatively, using physics. Even you may say anatomy should be taught, quantitatively. For instance, all anatomical structures are designed intrinsically to carry out their function. Let's take the left ventricle. The left ventricle is shaped like a truncated ellipsoid. with helical fibers. So when these fibers are contracting, the left ventricle twists, and when it twists, it ejects blood. If it was not shaped like this, if it was shaped like a cylinder, it would not be able to do so. So in this way, an anatomy, I call it anatomical engineering. In medical schools, we should have anatomical engineering. I mean, I've published papers on that. And we should have physiological engineering, how blood flows in the left ventricle. Blood forms vortices in response to the contractile twisting that we just talked about. And this enables efficient blood flow out of the left ventricle. So this is example of physiological engineering. Then we have to continue to go to, you may say, medical engineering. Medical engineering means, okay, you can have cardiovascular medical engineering, and all these organ systems medical engineering. But the important thing is that I have developed non-dimensional indices, non-dimensional indices for diabetes, non-dimensional indices, for contractility. So this is what is called, you may say, medical engineering. So we should have renal medical engineering, gastrointestinal medical engineering, cardiovascular medical engineering, neurological medical engineering. But these non-dimensional indices are very important because they enable proper medical assessment. And the last thing is surgical engineering. For instance, I'm just giving an example. Surgeons do routine surgery, say coronary bypass surgery. They do routine coronary bypass surgery. But that's not what should be taught. Surgery has to be patient specific because every patient needs a different approach to coronary bypass surgery because the graft has to be anastomosed with the stenosis with the stenosed artery, and the way, where it is stenosed, where it is attached, and the angle at which it's attached develops fluid flow in that way, and that constitutes to whether you have long-term patency or not. So surgical engineering should be also revised to make it patient-specific surgical engineering. Medical engineering should be revised to have non-dimensional indices. Physiological engineering should be revised where you have, you may say, biomedical engineering incorporated into all these physiology. Anatomical engineering should also be developed. So this is what the future, you may say, is. And then one more thing, we should be able to also monitor people should be able to monitor health at home. This is also the future of what we are talking about. CGM devices can monitor diabetes at home and prevent risk of type 2 diabetes. Cardiac fitness index based on monitoring of heart rate during and off the treadmill can enable you to monitor your heart health. So this is what the future is. People would be able to monitor their health, at home also. So this is what I may say is what the future is. Oh, the future will also be, because this being at NASA, future will also be our coming in contact with UFOs and aliens and learning from how their world is. So all this is, I'm calling it the future of what we are, what we should think about.
Amazing. Yeah. Wow. Lots to unpack. And yeah, I'm super excited to see. I think a lot of, technology companies are in that, moving in that direction, creating.
That's right. Yes.
Dhanjoo, for the sake of time, we only have time for one more question, even though I have so many more to ask. So we're going to have you back on the show to talk about the rest of this.
Sure.
But how do our emotions influence our environment? I mean, we spoke a little bit about feelings and emotions earlier, but I'd really like to double click on that because it's such a big topic. And I think, I'm personally very interested in this. Like how do our thoughts, feelings, and emotions really impact what we are seeing in our 3D reality?
You see, yes, our environment consists of home, workplace, and community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our emotions are related to our environment. For the family, for instance, to live in union with the cosmic entity, it's inspiring that all family members do meditation, and also do collective meditation on the weekends. So our emotions should be such that we want to guide our emotions in the right direction. You know, emotions influence the environment, but now we have to guide our emotions in such a way that we create a healthy environment at home, healthy environment at workplace, which is very important. Workplace involves organized group of people, and it's very important because people in the work environment are not properly, you may say, are very stressed, and we have to have good interrelationships at work. So we should also have work people organize meditation classes so that people can come to live together, and it prevents difficult reactions among them. This is the most difficult place. This is where, you may say, reactions of actions and karma develop, at the workplace. And so we have to make sure that the workplace has a different environment, has a more spiritual environment, has a more, that means the workplace is filled with the divine blessings of cosmic entity or divine entity. That means every 1 month, the corporations should have meditation classes. This will enable people, especially employees, to get along better with the people at the top, and people at the top to be more concerned about employees. So, this is what you may say emotions are all about. And finally, you can say that community living is very important, you know, and also because, in the community, so many things are happening, and we have to be more cognizant of developing a more unified community, a community in which people can all come together and have progressive living. And this is why this democratic system that I mentioned is very important. So meditation combined with this genuine democratic system of governance, where we talked about three components of this democratic system of governance. One is devoid of political parties. You elect the best people to the legislature. Second, in corporations, you should have economic equity, where the benefits of, you may say, or the revenue generated or the profits are shared with the employees and not with people in the stock market. And then thirdly, you want to have a world government or a world parliament within United Nations, so that United Nations can take care of all the countries and not be governed by just 5 countries who apply veto. And you know who the 5 countries are. So this is how United Nations was developed after World War II, controlled by the five
Right.
countries, and it should not be
Right.
controlled by the 5 countries. So this is now, in brief, this is what we want to get to.
So, yeah, and I think every company has different leadership that prioritizes this, and sometimes does not prioritize these ideas. So I think just something to think about for folks who are running companies or at the executive level, to really think deeply about how to transform your workforce. And it makes for also just better day to day. And I think most people, I think just obviously over index on the mind at the expense of their emotional worlds. And I've been sort of contemplating and reflecting on this, how so many people who have spent so much time at work have actually not done a lot of the inner work, when it comes to regulating their emotional world. And so a lot of things are usually
Right.
suppressed or in the shadow. And so it's been, because you need time, right? Like there's an element of time that goes into understanding one's inner world. And it feels like most people don't have enough time.
Yeah, I think the role, just like in society, the role of leaders is very important. So also in the workplace, the people at the top have a big role. The people at the top should provide, you may say, should provide to the employees the feeling that they are part of decision making, that they are part of, that the employees are responsible for, you may say, good working of corporations, but then they don't get rewarded for that.
Right.
And also, the salary difference between people at the top and employees is very big. This is also primitive. The salary difference should not be big. so that everybody feels that they are part of this, part of the workplace, that they have to work together. If you make 90 plus people, 90% plus, 90 plus percent people work in workplace or in companies or corporations. If now there is proper, you may say, economic equity in the workplace, then we will have a world of economic equity. And this is the main problem. We will not have a big group of poor people. This happens because they are not properly taken care of in the workplace, or they are not even there. They are neglected. So this is what is important. Workplace is very important. And I feel that every corporation should have monthly meditation classes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, Dhanjoo, I want to wrap up this conversation. It's so interesting. It's so wonderful how you have such a depth of knowledge in so many different disciplines. It was very unique. Most people spend their lives mastering one craft and one industry, and you have mastered many. So, I really hope that you are able to, really put Yogapathy into the world and bring a lot of your ideas into larger discussions at the, kind of global leadership level. Why do you think that this subject in particular is important? I really want to, kind of looking back on everything that you've worked on, if you could sort of tell us, like, what is it about like humanity or the systems and processes you've looked at overall? I mean, why do you think that this subject of Yogapathy is so important?
See, the subject of yogapathy is opening up a new gateway. As I said, we have had intellectual revolution, industrial revolution, and that's not enough. But we have not had spiritual revolution. And the subject, and so why is it important? Because once we're just starting, not even starting on this spiritual revolution. So yogapathy will enable us to develop, first of all, to evolve. Then yogapathy will enable us to develop more progressive living for the people. It will enable people to have meaningful life. Yogapathy will also enable us to recognize the basic necessities of life, namely healthcare, education, democratic governance, all of these things. When you develop your mind, then you recognize what is needed. And also, yogapathy will enable us to develop cosmic consciousness. So it will enable us to determine where we came from and where we are going to. And that is very important for people. So there is a whole lot of things that we need to do. Unfortunately, there is no university in US or elsewhere. Uh, you may say there is one in Bangalore in India, but I want us to develop yogapathy colleges in universities to offer PhD in yogapathy, all the way from bachelor's, master's, and PhD. I want to go one step further. Yogapathy is mind-body development, or you may say mind-body medicine. Allopathy, which is the conventional medical system, is primarily doing with the body. So we want to combine yogapathy and allopathy and have an integrated system of medicine. When we have an integrated system of medicine, then we will be able to have a more, you may say, to have a more evolved medical system. Right now, our medical system is confined to the body. But most of the problems are coming from the mind. Mind is influencing the body. And allopathy cannot take care of that. So we need yogapathy for that. Yogapathy of mind body development, or you may call it mind body medicine, combined with allopathy. So let's say that we have now a new system of medicine involving combination or integration of allopathy and yogapathy. First 2 years would be to develop, as we just mentioned, you may say anatomical engineering, physiological engineering. After that, the next 2 years would be to develop Yogapathy. And then next 4 years, allopathy. And then after that, integration of allopathy and yogapathy, into the community. This is my vision of what we should have as medicine. Because right now, the medicine system that we have is, I would say, doesn't cover, we keep talking about mental health and we talk about mental disorders, but we have no solution for that. Yogapathy is the solution. All our problems are arising from the way we think. And so mind body medicine, that is yogapathy, is very important. It will also change allopathy.
Amazing. Wow. So inspired by you, Dhanjoo.
That's what I feel.
Thank you so much. For our audience, thanks for joining and for listening. In this episode, we learned about Yogapathy with Dhanjoo Gista, and you can tune in to Gateways to Awakening, where we host one-on-one conversations with leading experts in wellness, well-being, and spirituality. Thanks again.